Time to ride once again, partner. Hey everyone, this is Joseph from Action X 3000, and welcome to your Toy Story 4 movie review from here, from Action X 3000. It's been quick side note, it's been a while since I've done a movie review because after my last one, Endgame, I literally just fell off the bandwagon, was not able to see any of the movies I initially had planned to do reviews on, but Toy Story 4 was such a it has a very important place in my heart. And now going into Toy Story 4, I knew I had to give my thoughts on this movie, regardless of, everything going on. Anyway, so Toy Story 4. When I initially heard that this movie was going to be a thing, and considering the fact how much money Toy Story 3 made, which was now over $1 billion, it was not unlikely of me to even think that Disney wouldn't consider Toy Story 4. I mean, yes, Toy Story 3 ended with Andy and the toys' journey coming to an end. Their story was over, so initially we felt like this would be the perfect place to end the series. But then there was like the back of my mind, like saying, well, they could technically do more films with Bonnie as the kid, and keep the toys going. And initially, I felt like the Toy Story, the tunes, and then the TV special. I thought initially for a while that was the direction that they were going to be taking. Like, I don't think they had any more story to tell in another movie, but they had enough story to work with in smaller, bite-sized installment. But now, here we are, Toy Story 4. And honestly, I gotta say, despite the trailers misleading me, any sort of fears I having with any fourth movie in a franchise, I was really, really concerned that Toy Story 4 might not have been able to even reach the height of its predecessor, but I was proven wrong. I went into seeing Toy Story 4, and by the end of it, I freaking loved it. And spoilers for the spoiler section, I cried at the end, but I'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, we're going to start here, spoiler-free section, which will be a little bit difficult to talk about, actually not really difficult, so to speak. So anyway, Toy Story 4 overall was just a really great movie. Again, it's a very different departure. It felt for me weird a little bit. Toy Story 4, this isn't a negative complaint or anything, this is just merely my mood of the whole film. This did not feel like the regular Toy Story. Like, there was a certain feel, emotion I had to get, and this could have been just from the animation change, or not a change, the improvements, because I had just recently binged all through Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, and even all the specials, so I got to see the increased quality of animation for all these films, and to comment on it, Toy Story 4 animation looks goddamn beautiful. Some moments even felt like, lifelike, which was really crazy, and it comes to show how far CGI animation has come in this form of storytelling medium. Anyway, so back to the film itself. This film definitely did feel, for me, it didn't feel like a Toy Story film. It was a Toy Story film, but it was definitely something different. And for it being the fourth installment, definitely coming off of number 3, this was definitely a good field to go into, since like there is no Andy to be anchored to. This is Bonnie, and I do have a couple of complaints about her as a character, but I'll get to that in the spoiler section. And I definitely love now, to be completely honest, Toy Story 4 did something that they introduced a lot of new characters, and I loved all the new characters. Keanu Reeves Duke Kaboom. I loved Ducky and Bunny. I think those were the standout characters in the film itself. Forky was amazing, despite I initially looked at Forky, it's like, for some reason people are going to hate him, and honestly everyone loves him right now, so definitely was a don't judge a book by its cover. I did love where Woody and Buzz's journey ended them up at the end of this movie. I didn't like how much, also before I get any further, shout out to, rest in peace, Don Rickles, who passed away before Toy Story 4. We got to see a little bit of him in this movie as Mr. Potato Head. But I think they did a good job not overusing him, but also having enough of him to, respect the character and, sort of have him be there, at least for, supposedly, this final adventure. Well, is it the final adventure? I'll get to that in a second. It's really hard not to talk about, stuff without spoiling stuff. I did like Bo Peep's return. I did really like her a lot. I felt like when this movie was announced to be a rom-com sort of way, this is a romance story from nearly start to finish. Once Bo Peep comes back, as spoiler, she's in the movie. She was in the trailer, so that's not a spoiler. She's in here. She's on the poster. Her character coming back as a more mature, evolved version of what we saw her in 1 and 2. it definitely really did. It definitely did bring some new life into the story and definitely push things into a very interesting direction for our characters. And with that being said, before I get to spoilers, I love this movie. It was really awesome. I definitely implore you to see it. And now to spoilers right now. I gotta talk about that ending, man. That ending. Toy Story 3 made me cry. It was one of the, I think it was the very first film, Toy Story 3, to actually make me cry. So, Toy Story 4 had a very tall task to reach. Could it do it? And it did. So, the whole story was about Woody. He was kind of going through this very weird weird stage of his life, considering the fact he doesn't have Andy anymore. And I initially thought this was not going to be in continuity with the shorts or anything, like the TV specials and the Toy Story 2s. It definitely, I felt like for a second, like, these didn't matter, because, like, it seemed like, because in the beginning of the movie, I think it was 2 years after the events of 3. I don't know. They're a little screwy with time here. But it seemed like when we cut back into Bonnie's room 2 years after 3, things were definitely different, obviously. Bonnie got older, and I think her way of handling her toys was a bit different from what we saw in the shorts and at the end of 3. Definitely putting Woody in a very difficult precautious situation where he's no longer the alpha dog. I mean, he is the alpha, like, he's the leader of his group, but with Bonnie's toys that we saw at the end of 3, he's definitely not anymore. So he's sort of losing every single position he had in his life in recent years, and it hasn't sit well with him. And I could definitely connect with that when you're going through these changes, and these are really good changes, but these are very different changes that some people don't get used to. And for him, definitely, like, dealing with the whole, like, he's not getting played with every single day, it's like, it's starting to waver on him. And of course you're going to say, well, he did that with Andy when he was growing up and during those off years. Yes, but this is different considering the fact Bonnie's still a kid. She should be playing with everyone, but she's not. And for him, you know, he's feeling a bit left out, but also going through this, as we see later on in the film, he's going through some resentment, some, you know, abandonment, not really abandonment, like empty nest syndrome, I think some people called it, in terms of, like, Andy's not there anymore. He thinks Bonnie is the next Andy, but she's not Andy. So it's not sitting well with him, especially with the arrival of Forky, which kind of does bring a little bit loose in. So if any kid imagines their thing as a toy, it becomes a toy, I guess. I really don't know. They never really clarify that much. I don't even think the toys even know how that fucking works. So anyway, the whole story between Woody going through this time of trial and then meeting Bo Peep again and realizing earlier during the off years between 2 and 3, there was an opportunity for, when Bo Peep left, for Woody to go with her, and he didn't because he wanted to be there for Andy, and that made sense considering the fact that's where we found him in 3, still wanting to be with Andy. It definitely really, you know, it's all connected, the whole story. It fell in line instead of Woody just contemplating going. And, you know, it does play into the notion of him giving up things for the greater good, since, like, he did sacrifice his own potential happiness to be with Andy. And that sounds like a bad thing to say, because yes, Andy was his kid. He has a very special place in his heart, but he didn't really have that choice at the time. So when we come back to 9 years later, which is what they said for this film, he definitely had that opportunity. He definitely had, like, a lot of opportunities. Like, maybe he could have another chance of rekindling this relationship and being with her again. And I initially felt like, and this is kind of drawing back to the Hidden World, where could there be a moment where, could there be, like, a way for Bo Peep to join Bonnie's crew, the Bonnie's toy? Was there a possibility? And the more we got to see of Bo Peep's character and where she's been through in the past few years, that option was completely off the table. So Woody was either have to be, by the end of this adventure, he'll have to say goodbye to Bo Peep again, and going through that. And so by the time we get to the end of the movie, when Buzz said that everything will be okay, you can go be with her, and that was, like, the moment, like, that was the last approval he needed, because, like, he immediately, like, went to her. Definitely the way when that happened, it really, like, broke me, because, like, this was going to be the end. Not Woody was going to be happy, but it was like he was never going to be with his friends again. And it does also have another continuum, like, when you meet the special someone in your life and you want to be with them, and sometimes it requires you to go with them, you have to say goodbye to some people. It really does suck, but, you know, seeing the last hug between Woody and Buzz, and then when they had to separate, seeing Woody not go with them, because we're used for the past 3 movies, like, he was going to run with them. This time he was running away from them, because, like, he was going to explore this new chapter in his life. And the ending is, like, really, like, this isn't, like, you know, this is different for humans, between humans and toys, because like for humans, if you go away from someone, you can easily just contact them on Facebook or text message or something. With toys, like there is a chance that they may never see each other again, because like Woody's on the road, he's with Bo Peep now, and the toys are stuck in one location, so it's like the chances that they're not even meeting each other again is very slim, and that definitely did play through a lot of the emotion, and it definitely made me cry by the end of it. And this was definitely the end of Woody's journey. So speaking with Woody's journey wrapping up, Buzz's was a bit weird. The whole like inner voice thing definitely felt like something they should have explored with maybe in 2 or maybe somewhere earlier than that timeline, because he's been a toy. Well, he's been a toy for like more than a decade now. So has that conversation never come up in those 8 years? It's a very loose jar, so to speak, in terms of like understanding, but it was a funny thing for him to do and give him opportunity to record new lines in terms of the toy mode. The other characters that we loved in 3, they're there, but they're like there was too much between Woody's journey and Buzz's path, and also the new characters that some of the Andy's original toys and some of Bonnie's toys, they kind of had to be sidelined for this one, which definitely did suck. But obviously you got to tell a story, and sometimes not everyone can be a part of that story. And in terms of the new character, again, I love Duke Kaboom. We had Keanu Reeves can do no wrong. This is his year. Ducky and Bunny, very interesting, journey with these two of them. I definitely love them. The villain, quote unquote, Gabby, wasn't definitely a villain by the end of it. She definitely felt like a villain, but she was like, she had her own story. Once you figure out her story, it was like, she's not the villain here. She's just trying to get a kid. And it's like, and also, when the moment when they were tugging between Woody, between Buzz and those freaking slappy looking motherfuckers. Sorry for language. When we got to see Woody, his voice box comes out, it's like I got really scared because like, is this how he's gonna die? Is Woody gonna die? And he didn't die, thankfully. And weirdly enough, no one mentioned the fact that his voice box was sticking out. No one made mention of that. And also, Al from Toy Story 2 would probably be yelling in his pants right now if you saw that movie. This definitely felt like an ending to the story. And before I go any further, before I wrap it up, my one complaint with this movie was Bonnie. Bonnie, oh no, she's the kid. How am I going to complain about a kid? The fact that Bonnie from Toy Story 3 promised Andy that she would always cherish Woody, and then when we begin this film, she was not. And then the fact yes, Woody wants to be with Bo Peep. He got the last approval from Buzz to like he can go with her. Isn't it weird that Bonnie we never got a scene of Bonnie not even looking for Woody? It's like, oh, I forgot I had a cowboy. Yeah, maybe she should have gone. It's a very, I get it. She's a kid. Attention spans move on. But seriously, did no one even not one of these humans mention the fact, where's Woody? Where's the cowboy doll? Did no one ever have that question? Oh well. Anyway, Toy Story 4 for me felt like the true conclusion to the story. I would definitely be down to see 5 if they ever do one in like 10 or so years. But for now, this felt like the end of Woody's story. Maybe there's more stories to tell with the other characters. But right now, this was definitely the end of Woody's story. I loved it from start to finish. And if you haven't seen it yet, please go do it. It's a very watchable film, and bring some tissues. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching for this movie review. Please subscribe if you haven't, like it, and I'll see you guys soon.